Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood.
Hello and welcome to the Kachat, the only podcast brave enough to play children's games and then make fun of them. I'm John Bishop.
Hey, what's up with cars? I'm Lucas Southworth. But this week he is right. He is right. We are talking about the Putt-Putt games. It should be, hey, what's up with Putt-Putt? Because, man, we played them.
And hey, what's up with Putt-Putt?
A lot.
All right.
A lot. So, as we discussed last week, we got a request from our friend Izzy to dive into the Putt-Putt games, and we couldn't decide quite what to do, whether we should do the first and last games or the most wild games. So we put it up to a poll on Twitter. I don't know what we were expecting. Of course, y'all chose the most wild games. John has come in having played Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, I think is the title.
Mm-hmm. And he does.
Man, I bet he does. And John, I will tell you, Putt-Putt also does Go to the Moon, which is the one I played. And also, before we get into it, a bit of a correction on how we described this coming to us last week. Izzy did send us this, but like 2 years ago, friend of the show and former co-host while John was on paternity leave, Emma, also sent me this exact idea, and I completely forgot about it. So credit to Emma. And to make it up to her, I did also play her favorite Putt-Putt game, Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo.
Okay. So you've played 2 of these games, and you're still sane?
Yeah, they're fine. They're like right here at the top. We're gonna do the thing where we say like, "Hey, we understand these are kids' games. They're not made for us, but we're still gonna make fun of them." Yeah, we're all cool with it. We're all cool with it.
It's kind of our thing, our niche,
if you will,
making fun of kids' properties.
Because I will say right at the top, I think these are probably pretty good kids' games. And probably, if you grew up with them, a really great source of nostalgia for you. Like I grew up with Pajama Sam, as we discussed last week, another game by Humongous Entertainment, the people who make these games. And if I had been playing Pajama Sam, I probably would have been all the way into it. I could feel that as I was playing Putt-Putt instead.
Mm-hmm. And you get a tiny bit of nostalgia even if you haven't played the game, which is weird, because I played insert name of fish game that I can't remember.
Freddy Fish.
Yep, and it felt very similar, just the animation style, the weird audio clipping, everything.
So, John, would you like to talk to me about your journeys through space and time, or would you like me to tell you about my lunar landing with Putt-Putt first?
All right. The answer to this next question will tell me if I want to hear yours first or if I want to go first. Was your adventure due to just bad engineering and science?
I would say so, yeah.
All right, then go ahead and tell me.
All right, our protagonist, Putt-Putt the car, was strolling down to, got invited, as a matter of fact, to the new fireworks factory by Mr. Firebird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Mr. Firebird invited the car child, Putt-Putt, to the firework factory. Seems like a bad place to invite a child. And as we'll learn, it was. And he just for a while, you go to the car town, which is Putt-Putt's town, is Car Town. You just go to the Car Town Fireworks Factory. Mr. Firebird lets you make a bunch of fireworks and test them. and there's a big lever that says "Do not pool," and I thought they're wanting me to click on that, but I'm not going to do it. There is a butterfly over here, and I do want to click on that. Something you got to know about putt putt games: you can and should click on every single thing on screen. There is nary a thing you can't click on every single screen that will do some silly animation when you do it.
Now, I will say that for the most part, that seems to only be true about anything that's clearly outlined in a darker black than anything else.
For sure, you can tell what you can click on, basically. Like, if there's a tree, click on the tree, and like a face will pop out, and it'll be a living tree for a second. And that's amusing to like children. And I get it. It's to encourage sort of curiosity, creativity, and it's fun. Some of them were genuinely funny. I will give it that. But anyway, I click the butterfly thinking it's going to be like I'm avoiding the game being so much smarter than it. But no, I click the butterfly and it flies on the do not touch lever and weighs it down enough to launch a secret experimental firework that Mr. Firebird had been working on, catch me up under it. For some reason, his firework does not explode at any point and carries me all the way to the moon.
Mm.
Important to know, Pep, Putt-Putt's dog, who's just with him at all times, needed a space helmet. Putt-Putt did not. But then once we landed on the moon, Pep did not have a space helmet for the rest of it. So don't know what's up with that. Uh, but basically, the game from there is like all of these are like, hey, go around, find items. You need to find specific items that we've given you a list of to finish the game. And this one was find items to build a spaceship to go back home. On the moon, there are a whole bunch of aliens just everywhere. There is a family of mice from Kansas who are visiting as tourists, who is one of my favorite parts of the game. There's the Lunar Rover, who you become friends with, who I really want to spend some time on later, but I just want to get through the description first. But basically, you just help some people out. The mayor of Moontown, I don't know if that's what it was called, gives me a key to the rocket because I helped someone who fell in a moon river. There are a couple like little mini games, like completing a maze, and another one. Oh, did I write this down? Called Bear Stormin'. That's just you just go into a moon bar and there's an arcade cabinet. And you click on that and you get thrust into the mini game Bear Stormin', in which a bear gets into a plane. It's kind of like Flappy Bird, just in that like the background moves behind you and you only have to worry about moving up and down, but you just move it with your mouse, not by clicking.
All right.
And for 14 levels, it was the easiest game I ever played because you get a set amount of fuel at the beginning of each level, and you fill it back up by hitting balloons, and you don't want to hit anything else, or either you'll die or lose some fuel. And at no point in those first 14 levels was I ever in any danger of running out of fuel, because they start me with a full tank. Then on level 15, they start me with like an eighth of a tank, and I can't miss a single balloon, or the bear flying the plane will die. So there was just a wild difficulty spike in Bear Stormin', which I looked up, goes on for 35 more levels after that.
Oh no.
I spent a good 20 minutes of the about hour and 15 minutes I spent playing this game just trying to get as far as I could in Bear Stormin', and I could never get past like level 17. But then I bit the bullet and just found the rest of the stuff to make the rocket ship and escaped back to Earth. The whole time I could click the radio on Putt-Putt's dashboard, and the radio announcer was like, hey, there's a child who got sent to the moon. That sucks. It looks like he's trying to get back. I don't know, man. That's basically Putt-Putt Goes to the Moon. We can get into more detail, but I want to hear about Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, or any questions you have just on your first listening to the description of Putt-Putt Goes to the Moon.
Important question, not about the storyline at all. When you clicked on the radio, did another mouth appear?
Oh, like the radio itself was talking? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that confirms that this boy has at least two mouths.
one of them isn't controlled by him, maybe.
Yep. All right. So, Putt-Putt Travels Through Time. You wrote a history report. Classic. You got to go see uh your good friend Doc, and your name is Marty McFly. I mean, no. Um you got to go see Professor Firebird, and you're going to show him your history report for some reason, but you got to bring your lucky nickel for some reason. So you click on the nickel because you're like, "Oh, it's money. I got to have money." And I guess you needed that. So you go to Professor Firebird and you're like, "Oh, I want to show you my history report before I go to school." He's like, "Oh, cool. But give me all your money." So you give him your money, and then he starts a washing machine, which apparently controls chronological torque,
Sure.
and that starts a machine that is supposed to let you see time, like any time period you want. And instead, the screen bursts open and a portal appears, and all of your things that weren't already stolen by the old man get sucked into the time stream. And you have to go through and collect all the things, because if you don't, the portal will never close. They never explain that that's a bad thing, it just won't close. So you, of course, a child, are then sent on a mission to collect the items that were taken from you by this old man's invention that just was broken for some reason. And then you go through time, and there's a thing you could click on, and it's like four different things somewhat related to time or math or science. And I would advise not clicking on it because it's then like a weird music video.
Mm.
But then you've got four options of time periods to go to. There is, of course, dinosaur time. Then there is Arthurian castle village. Then there is Wild West, and then there's future.
Great. The four times.
So that's, yeah, the four times. And a weird thing is that if you're in the dinosaur times, everything is referred to as primordial, which is not what that means.
No, it certainly isn't.
One of the first people you meet is, well, if you choose to start going like left to right, you meet Ms. Brachiosaurus, who introduces herself because you walk up to her and you're like, "Oh, I gotta wake this thing up so the tail will move." And you're like, "Hey, it's a Brachiosaurus." And she opens up her eyes a little bit. It's like, "That's Ms. Brachiosaurus to you." And
Oh,
who
she's
or
single.
what in the primordial ooze are you? And that's how you're introduced to dinosaurs talking to you. So that's weird. And then there's primordial soup. But then you just go through all the time streams collecting items, and then your goal is to collect the right items, which are your items, and
Sure.
then go back to the normal time, and then you deliver your history report to school.
Bada bing. You
Hmm.
want me to go through Saves the Zoo right quick, and then we can dive into some nitty gritty here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so right off the bat, Emma, you were straight up correct. This was a superior game to Putt Putt Goes to the Moon. That is what she texted me. Let's see. She said, Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is superior in every way. And again, quite honestly, yeah, it kind of was. Not to get too much into like game designy talk for these games meant for, small children, but Goes to the Moon is like very almost linear in that like you do one thing and then it's very clear like, oh, go do this thing now you have what you need to go do this thing over here. Whereas at least Putt Putt Saves the Zoo was like, it's not open world is certainly not the right word. But you could do it in whatever order you wanted. Like would go to the grassland and you found a log that you needed in the jungle area, and like you had to get stuff from each area to affect each other area. So it was more open ended. I think probably forces kids to think a little bit more than the other one. So yeah, straight up, you're right, Emma, and also the song in it does slap. You're right. But basically, hey, the Cartown Zoo is opening, and once again, the guest of honor, Putt Putt, has been invited. Well, as a matter of fact, no. Mr. Baldini from the Italian market, who has a giant bushy mustache and is a car, sends you with some zoo chow to take to Outback Al, the zookeeper, I guess.
Is it an
So
Australian zoo?
it's an Australian man or car,
Man car.
man car. Thank you. Also, you get to the zoo, you take the zoo chow to Outback Al, who has just a giant chin and stubble on it, which I didn't love. Uh, but you take it to him, and he's like, "Putt putt, it's awful. The zoo opens today, and all of this stuff is not ready. There are bridges that don't exist, and I gotta fix everything. And what's worse, there are 6 baby animals who are missing."
Oh? Who's stealing the babies?
No, they just all got out and are stuck somewhere, is what happens.
Oh, so it's just a bad zoo.
Let me tell you, the main takeaway I got from Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is that the Cartown Zoo is a horrible zoo that deserves to be closed down immediately. But so you think maybe, oh, I'm a child, shouldn't be sent to like get a baby lion or a baby hippo. It's dangerous for me and the animals. He'll have me like repair the bridges and whatnot. But no, Outback Al, the trained zookeeper, says, listen, I'll fix everything. You go find the baby animals, Putt Putt. And you're like, okay. So you basically just go through the, I think I mentioned them already. There are 3 areas, and like the grassland, the jungle, and like the Arctic icy area,
Mm-hmm.
and get different stuff and save like a tiger or a lion, a giraffe, a hippo, a seal, a snake, and an elephant.
Okay.
And it was fun. I liked that one more than Goes to the Zoo. Again, though, like there's a part where just to get to a large section of the zoo, you have to swing on a vine over a river with a crocodile in it. And I was thinking, that's not great, but I guess this is maybe what Outback Al was talking about when he was like, stuff isn't working, it's broken. And this will be fixed before people come in. But no, in the final like cutscene, you do see people doing that, just going around the zoo. There's an avalanche in the Arctic area that almost kills Putt Putt. You can actively go on a raft and go through some rapids, which I
There are
did.
rapids in the zoo?
Yeah, you maybe aren't supposed to get on them, but there is a raft right at the front of them, so anyone could. And I went through those rapids maybe 6 times, and because there are like branching paths you can go down, trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out, okay, it wouldn't have this rapids area without like something to collect or one of the animals in there.
Oh, believe you me, I've learned that that is not the case.
No, yeah, it was just a rapids area for fun. Just for fun. I searched every nook and cranny, but whatever. In the end, I saved all the animals. Oh, super importantly, all the zoo animals can talk.
All
Pep
right.
Pep the dog cannot talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is something that was pointed out to us by Izzy when Izzy sent it our way. But can confirm, when I came across the monkeys, the first animals in the zoo I came across, they were all wearing berets and they did beat like a beat poetry jam at me.
Mm.
So like monkeys do,
Yeah.
John.
You know, how monkeys do.
So that's the basics of Putt Putt. We should maybe describe how the car looks.
Well, that depends, Lucas, because you said that you had a better game than the other game that you had played. But did your games have character customization?
They both did, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Mine had character customization, and I was weirdly impressed by it.
Well, when you say character customization, do you mean
You
you
could
could
paint the
change?
car.
Yeah, you could change Putt Putt's color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could do that in Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, and it would stay the whole game. But in Goes to the Moon, you would basically order a soda from the Moon Bar, and you would drink it, and Putt Putt would very quickly turn yellow or purple. Well, he's already purple or red or something, but then he would change back. So
Mm.
more in Saves the Zoo than Goes to the Moon.
All right. Now, there were two options for character customization in my game.
Hmm.
One of them was very strange. It was you can change the color of your tongue for a brief period of time.
Sick.
You could eat a piece of candy that you had to do part of the game for so that you could get a nickel and then give that nickel to someone else immediately so you could buy candy and change the color of your tongue. And in the future part of the game, you could just go to a place and then be picked up by a scary large machine, and it would spew paint all over you and spin you around violently.
Great. We love that.
Yeah.
I don't. The one at the zoo wasn't really explained. I think they just did it in previous games and were like, people expect you to be able to turn putt putt green. So there was just a paint station set up in the grassland.
Well, in the future, you can just get a paint job, and that was it. Like there was nothing other than you go to a place and you're able to do a thing. So that's something.
Something. But what I was getting at is that Putt Putt very much follows the Celine Defer model of where eyes are.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes are his headlights, much like the headlight saleswoman in Cars 2 in France, who always freaks us out.
On
Uh,
account of so many things, of she's got a different design than all the other cars. Her eyes are where her reproductive organs should be, and she also sells the thing that's different about her. She sells eyeballs.
I think the biggest thing for me, I know we talk so much about Celine, and we've mentioned this exact point before, but the biggest thing that freaks me out about Celine is that when Mater sees her, Mater doesn't go, "Oh, hello, ma'am," and like not bat an eye. Mater sees her and freaks out. Mater's afraid of this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Mater doesn't know what's going on.
Which
Uh,
is just them confirming, yes, this character is terrifying.
yeah, they could have just included her and been like, "Yeah, some cars are different. Who cares?" But no, they made it very clear this is different, this is wrong, and you should be afraid of her.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is basically explicit.
He is also a convertible, which is important because he uses his antenna hand to put a lot of stuff in his body, and that makes it a lot easier to do.
Mm-hmm. Or
Uh,
maybe he just is missing his top.
could be that.
Yeah.
Uh, also, not importantly, but I noticed he has white walled tires, which that's a connection to cars, kind of.
Now, for me, I don't think he has white walled tires. I think he has completely white tires.
That's true. It's they're not just walled; they're the full tire is white, which is kind of weird.
Yep.
Don't see that very much.
Mm-hmm. All right. As far as game design goes, one thing that is really neat to me is that this game seems to have a bit of procedural generation, because I was confused as to where to find a certain thing, and I looked up, okay, how do I find this? Because I was playing well into hour one, and I was like, I don't want to be playing this forever.
Sure.
So I look up where to find the item, and then it says, oh, it could be here, or here, or here, or here. So I think every time you play it, it could be, by every time, I mean, there are 4 different locations that you can go in time,
Uh huh.
and each item, there are 4 items you need to find, could be in each of those locations.
Hmm. That's kind of interesting. Neither of mine had anything like that. To my knowledge, all of the things are always in the same place for Moon and Zoo.
Hmm. I feel like my game may have been a later one,
Yeah, I think it was.
which that's all neat. But then also, I've noticed there's some things that are similar with the other games that were complaints of mine, and that's there are areas where it seems to have just placed something that's just there, and that's it. It's it could be that it's a procedural generation, like, oh, sometimes this item is in this location, and that's why there's nothing there right now. But then there are things like, oh, it's just a mini game. That's
Oh,
it.
oh yeah, for sure. Like when I did the maze to find Pep the dog who ran off into a moon cave.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a fun little maze. And when
Yeah.
I played animal tag at the zoo, or when I played hockey against a polar bear, those were just for fun too. Which, again, for this kind of game where like half of the fun for the kid is just clicking on stuff and seeing what happens, totally fine. For us as two in their late 20s men playing it was a little less what we wanted from it.
But then you get to a point where you're like, oh, there's just 3D Pong in this for no reason.
Ooh,
Yep.
really?
That was the arcade game for me. It was just 3D Pong.
Okay, sure, why not?
Yeah. So there was 3D Pong. There was also another thing, I guess, similar to the Rapids, where you could just go down an endless trail. If you go into the desert, this is something that tripped me up. You have to do a mini game, and then you have to do a different mini game, and then think a third mini game in order to, well, not mini game, like there's three different tasks you have to perform before you open up the major portion of the map. And I didn't know that, and I was like, this is super weird that there's one of these four times where the entire map is just insanely simple. It's not. You just have to talk to the train station,
Sure,
and then talk to the train station, and then talk to the train station.
great.
And Lucas, I have a very important question.
Sure,
I'm going on tangents. I can't like keep a straight thought right now,
that's fine.
but it's very upsetting to me. How many times did you have to interact with an adult in this game, and it just was uncomfortably like this might be sexual?
I don't know that I got that vibe. I very much got the vibe that like several times like these adults should be helping me more.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were several times where I was, stuck on the moon, and I found the rocket ship, and there was an alien who was like, "Yeah, we don't really want it anymore, but you're gonna have to buy it from us, child who's trying to get back home."
Mm-hmm.
And I also was like, there were several zoo employees who did not help me find, the baby animals. But no, I didn't get any weird sexual vibes, John.
Okay, so nothing like, I don't know, two different adults that you had to make moan for various reasons.
Hmm. Don't care for that. No, I don't think that happened.
All right, so you go to past times. You go to the dinosaurs, and you had to scratch his back for him, and you do this by driving on him. And I don't know what's going on here, but he's like, "Oh, I've got a rough skin. I got this itchy spot on my back. Can you scratch it for me?" And then you drive on him, and then he's like pointing his tail at various areas, and you have to go there. And every time you move, he's like, uh, that's the spot. And it's that for that entire part of the game. So that's
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah.
But then there's every time you have to lube something or oil something,
Hmm.
uh, there are various things within the game that are rusty that you squirt with your oil can, and then all of the rust just disintegrates and turns to dust in front of you. So that's something. Uh, and one of the things you have to lube is the train.
Hmm.
He's like, hey, can you be my junior conductor? Could
Ugh.
you be real helpful and be my junior conductor? And could you just do me a huge favor and just oil me up real quick? And then you do that, and he's like, oh. And then all of it disintegrates, and he's better. And then you have to water him. And why are there more than one? Why is there any amount above zero of adults that you have to make moan in this game?
Yeah, I don't care for that. That's for sure.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah, like obviously, I guess not obviously, but I almost certainly think that that wasn't their intention. But like, have a person look at it.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Uh,
think about it
yeah,
just for a second would be
yeah.
good. Uh, there's that. There's it's just various things throughout this game. It's like, oh, this is not appropriate for you being a child and these being adults. Like the two adults who take your money without even considering maybe this is a child who has their own money that we shouldn't be taking. Maybe we should consult their parent or something. Was there a parent in your entire playthrough?
Oh no, neither of them. I don't know what's going on with Putt Putt's home situation, but like,
It's probably not great.
yeah, like he gets trapped on the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and you come back in Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, and like there are a bunch of cars gathered around who are like, "Oh, Putt Putt, we were so worried," but like there aren't any that like come up to Putt Putt and like car embrace him or anything. Like I don't know, man. It made me a little sad, being honest.
Yeah, it's a Doc Marty relationship where you've got Mr. Firebird and he seems to be the adult in your life and he's irresponsible to say the least.
Oh, was Mr. Firebird also in yours? Was he the time traveler
He was the
or the
Doc
inventor?
Professor Brown. Yeah, he's the guy, and he is seriously your Doc for your Marty. And
Huh.
it's just a situation where like, okay, I made a time machine. You can't go through time. You can just see it, and then it immediately breaks, and then all your stuff is stolen, and then that's because he already demanded of you your money.
Yeah,
And it must be said, I'm exaggerating like everything I'm saying.
for sure.
He's like, oh no, I can't start the machine because it's a washing machine and it needs a nickel. And you just happen to have a nickel. So you're like, hey, Professor Firebird, I have a nickel. And that's it.
That's that on that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great that there are two separate incidents where Firebird invites you Putt Putt into a situation he shouldn't have invited him to in the first place, and then something goes horribly wrong that could have killed Putt Putt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not great that the adult in his life is this strange mad scientist man.
Okay. You remember when I said I wanted to dive into the Lunar Rover
Mm-hmm.
during my thing? Because that
Yeah.
was the most interesting part of either game to me, like lore wise, I guess.
Okay.
Because you land on the moon and you explore just a little bit, and there's a bridge, and there was a sign that said caution, and I clicked the sign because it made me laugh that anytime there was a word, Putt Putt would, if you clicked it, Putt Putt would say, that says fireworks factory, or that says caution, which, again, a good thing to include in a game for children who are probably learning to read.
Mm-hmm.
But I clicked the sign. He said, that says caution. And then without me doing anything else, he drove up onto the rickety bridge above the Moon River and immediately falls in, which annoyed me.
Now, I gotta say, the vibe I got from my playthrough was that he's the type of character that if you see that sign that says "Do not touch," if you click the thing that says "Do not touch," he would have been like, "Huh, that says "Do not touch." I shouldn't touch it," and then the butterfly thing would happen. But in your playthrough, it seems that he's the type who sees caution and says, "Huh, that's for suckers."
Yeah, seems that way. The bridge just fully collapses out from under him. He falls into the Moon River and gets stuck. And then you have to honk your horn, which I did think that was nice. He said, I need to call for help somehow. And I had been honking the horn quite a bit just because it was funny to me also that you could do that at any point. And honking the horn makes the Lunar Rover come over and save you and fix the bridge. But the Lunar Rover had the saddest backstory. They had a flashback for this guy. He was also sentient because he's a car,
Mm-hmm.
but he said like I've been stuck on the moon for like a long time. I came with the astronauts and they left me here.
Oh no.
And like you see like human astronauts, like you don't see their faces, at least humanoid astronauts in a little flashback coming to the moon and driving him around and then leaving and him looking sad. And like Yeah, we did that with the real Lunar Rover, but ours wasn't sentient.
Ours wasn't a person.
Ours wasn't an equal crewmate.
Ah, that is very sad.
Yeah, so you do get to that one. That one had the stronger story for me because not only were you saving yourself, you were saving the Lunar Rover, which I was very motivated to do. After that, I got genuinely sad about it.
All right. Uh, good. Good. That is sad.
Yeah, for sure. Another character in mine was the man in the moon.
Oh,
Yeah, uh,
like the phrase, but
like the
is a
phrase,
character?
but is a character. Uh,
Okay.
when the rover saved me, he gave me a picture of the moon. I don't know why. He did something for me and then gave me a present. He's just a good guy, I guess.
Yeah. Sounds
Uh,
like.
so I went, and that was an unavoidable like story moment. Like I don't think I could have not gotten the picture. But then I just went to some rando's house, played Simon Says to get in, went in, and there was just a large being with a crescent moon for a head. And he said, "I'm the man in the moon, and all I've wanted for 10,000 years is a picture of myself."
Oh.
Which was weird, because, like, what, what the rover gave me was a picture of the crescent moon, but, like, the moon itself, not this guy who
Mm-hmm.
lives on the moon.
I think you
So
mean in the moon.
in the moon, I guess. He's not underground, so I would argue that, but that's neither here nor there. But I just got very confused on the lore of that, I guess, and that he was both the was he also the moon and
Of
this
course.
guy?
Yes.
He just lived on or in himself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't see how that's confusing. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, whatever. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to beat yours?
Probably 2 hours.
About 2 hours? Okay. So one thing I did, I like tangentially watch and pay attention to the speedrunning community. Like I don't watch anyone on Twitch.
Is there? Yeah. There's a putt-putt speedrunning
Oh,
community.
John. Uh, yes, there is. I did go onto speedrun.com and check out the world records for all of the games. You said it took you about 2 hours ish. How long do you think the world record speed run for Putt-Putt Travels Through Time is?
If we're talking all things allowed, and there's like the ability to insert a certain like up, down, down, right, left, left, like click thing, I'm sure it's like 2 minutes.
Well, John, try 4 times less than that. The speed run for Putt-Putt Travels Through Time is 33.8 seconds. Uh, and it seems the big thing is uh, there's a way to just skip dialogue, which just seems to take care of all of it, especially if you just know where everything is. You just have to get your route settled.
Okay.
Uh, Putt Putt Goes to the Moon is the world record is 5.5 minutes. Because I think there's like an unskippable like song cutscene or something. Otherwise, it would be about as long as yours. And then Putt Putt Saves the Zoo was 31.3 seconds.
All right. All right.
Uh,
That's nuts.
and as I looked more into this, I noticed that each of the three I had checked were done by the same guy named Plank. And right off the bat, I didn't look into Plank at all, so if he, as many gamers are, is a bad person, I'm not endorsing him, just talking about his skills at Humongous Entertainment Games, because I did look at all of the rest of the Putt Putt games, and wouldn't you know it, right there at the top was Plank. And then I thought, I mean, there's just no way, right? So I went over to Freddy Fish and all of the Freddy Fish games.
Of
World
course.
record were Plank, Pajama Sam, Plank, Spy Fox, which I had never heard of. They're all Plank. He has the world record speed run of every single humongous entertainment like story game. Like they're like the sort of activity pack games that we mentioned we weren't interested in. He doesn't have those, which they do have world records, but all of the ones he has done, and I did add up all of his times to see how long it would take him to play the 19 different humongous entertainment games. And if you add them all up, it is 29 minutes and 51 seconds.
And it only took him 3 years of his life to be able to do that.
I mean, almost certainly. Uh, just a couple more stats. His longest one is Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, it would seem. Just, I think, again, because that unskippable cutscene or whatever it is. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember exactly what it was. And his shortest one was Freddy Fish 2, clocking in at 14.8 seconds.
Mm.
I watched a video of some of these. They are, I mean, they're what you expect. It's a guy clicking a bunch and the screen changing very rapidly. But they're still very impressive if you want to go to speedrun.com and check them out for yourself. I always recommend that. Speedrunning is so interesting.
It's very bizarre. Hard to understand how this is a thing that people just happen upon. Like, oh, yeah, you just click 5 times in this direction and then you're going to be through this wall for some reason. And that's all you need to know, because after that, you can walk 5 more paces and then you're in the second to last level. And then you do a Kamehameha wave. And yes, this is SpongeBob and Patrick Go Fishing.
Sure.
But, you can do that because it's an Easter egg that they didn't tell anyone about.
Just a little bit more about how wild speedrunning is. One of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is a person in depth explaining how they do a least A presses possible tool assisted speed run for a specific level of Super Mario 64. And it is some of the most like insane stuff I've ever heard of them saying. So you understand tool assisted speed run like they do it with a computer, basically, for like
Mm-hmm.
the theoretical perfect speed run
Yeah.
that a human couldn't execute. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, there's a point where they're like, so then I set Mario up against this wall, walking backwards, and leave him to build speed for 7 hours.
How is that a
That's,
speed run?
I mean, he's trying not to press the A button. He can't jump, so he has to do some weird stuff, and like that shoots him like so far off the map that he's technically on a different invisible map that they call a parallel universe. And it's called Watch for Rolling Rocks. If you just type that in and like no A presses or something, you'll find it. It's like half an hour to an hour long. It made me feel like I was an insane person, but it is incredible to watch. But go ahead with what you were saying.
So I was going to return to the idea of characters who say a lot about lore,
Mm-hmm.
and there is, in fact, a wheel
Yes.
who is a character.
Yes.
He is, of course, in the dinosaur times,
For sure.
and he is Wheel. And then you go to Merlin times. Yes, Merlin is in this game.
Great.
And one of the things that he does is, in one of the generations that you can play, he uses your calculator as a power source for a nonsense machine.
Sure.
And, well, in that universe, there is, of course, a bunch of carts and buggies that are alive. The buggies, of course, are the royalty, and the cart is a guy who collects firewood for the blacksmith,
Sure. Why
who
not?
ended up in my playthrough not being anything. Like, you can have anything you need, and you don't need anything from him.
That's sad.
You do, of course, go to the Wild West, and then it's like, oh, if you want some of this hay, you can have it. So you take the hay, and then you come back at a different point in time, and you're like, oh, look, a rope, and you just take it without asking. So this game's not all that consistent about getting permission for things. But It basically confirms that yes, vehicles are sentient. That's it. Because you got the vehicle, it's a wheel, so he's alive. There's also dinosaurs that are alive. There are sentient animals throughout all the time because you talk to a horse, you talk to dinosaurs, yada yada. And in the future, it's just a flying car. So
Sure.
that's something. But then you think about it, okay, so you start off evolution wise as a wheel. Then you become a cart, which has two wheels. Then you become a car, which has four wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become something that has no wheels.
My God.
You have completely become something that is antithetical to what you started out as. And that's bizarre to me.
Huh, yeah, just thinking about that evolutionary line of like the consciousness moves away from the wheel, but the wheels are still important until you don't need them anymore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's like I don't even know how to say that what this would be like because like for me I'm thinking okay so we came from monkeys, right? What if we lost the monkey part of ourselves? Like all right, so the two arms, two legs, the torso, the butt, the head, neck. I mean, we lost. I don't even think we lost tails. I don't even know if the evolutionary branch we were off of had tails. Izzy, let me know. But like, I'd have to go back so much further to like, oh, well, we were this ooze that came from the ocean. I guess we were some sort of bacteria or lizard thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I like even still there's arms and legs and then you go back further and then okay we're single-celled organisms I guess we didn't lose cells but
Yeah.
this branch of evolution is you're a tire, you're a wheel, and then you're something that has wheels and then you're something that doesn't have wheels.
I guess it'd be like if instead of monkeys evolving into humans, they evolved into two monkeys holding a box. Uh,
Which of course evolves into a box.
yes, with no monkeys.
So maybe what this is saying is that evolution is computer, and someday computer will be itself, and we won't carry them around anymore.
I mean, maybe. Maybe it's wildly poignant, John. Did you
Mm-hmm.
consider that?
Uh, I want to say yes, but no,
No, no, they didn't either.
because it wasn't supposed to be.
Oh, for sure.
This game, I gotta complain about this section. All right, so you had the rapids section. In my game, you get to that map where it's the Wild West, and there's a section where you're following footprints in the desert, and you follow the trails, and there are either three or four trails because there are three different types of animals you can encounter, and you're just like following their footprints in the direction to figure out where they are. And then you find them, and then you like click on them and make observations about them. Like, oh, you can learn that a roadrunner's tail is as long as the entirety of its body. Fun things like that. Like you learn the colors that certain type of, I think, mountain lion can be.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one trail. It's tire tracks.
No, okay.
And I don't know if that's supposed to be like a meta, oh, you've already been here, even if you haven't been here kind of thing, or if you're supposed to find the car. And I never found the car.
Huh.
And I spent a lot of time for me, which was like 5 minutes.
Sure, but like clicking the same thing over and over again, that is a long time.
Yeah, it was real frustrating. And I never found the other car. And what frustrates me is because like you can find trails where it's just like one set of footprints and it's they go into the center and then they go out in a different direction
Mm,
and that's it. Which means that you can find the car trail that did that. If you don't find the car, that means the joke is that you were already there, but you hadn't been at first. Which maybe it's a time travel joke. Probably not.
probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. And I will say, of course, if it were another vehicle, it'd probably have been a wagon because I believe they were wagons at that point in time.
Sure.
But I don't know, man. Maybe there's just someone who was out in the desert and died, and then they got buried in sand.
Maybe it was Minnie and Van, you know? You could have saved them. Gave you all the clues, Mr. Policeman. I referenced that movie, I want to say The Snowman or something, a lot for someone who has never seen it, has heard it's horrible, and never plans on seeing it.
See,
Uh,
I saw some trailers for it, and then I think I looked up a synopsis of it, and I was like, that is not what the trailer said this movie would be.
I watched a YouTube video about how it's one of the worst, like, I think specifically edited movies this person had ever seen, as well as just one of the worst movies they'd ever seen. So, but I don't know. The marketing stuck with me, so good for you.
Yeah, like I wanted to watch the movie, I
For
just
sure.
didn't.
I think one thing, and we've avoided this on purpose because I think neither of us are sure if we should consider these canon or not. All of the different things you click on that are like absurd. An absurd thing happens, like you click a tree and it gets a mouth and eyes and it winks at you and then it goes back to being a tree. Like, we could talk about the lore implications of living sentient trees, or the fact that, like, when I clicked on the earth when I was on the moon, it turned around and blew a bubble and then turned back around.
Well, that was clearly about global warming.
Sure, sure, but what I'm getting at is, should should we count the little absurdist just animations that they put in there to put in there to like entertain kids and give them a reason, a reward for being curious? Should we count those as canonical and important in the Putt-Putt verse? I will say I didn't write many of them down, so we can't talk about them a ton. But
Well, Lucas, when you're dealing with absurdism in video games and any sort of thing that has an established storyline, you gotta establish a very Sith mindset. You have to deal in absolutes, and that means that either nothing is important or everything is important.
sure, yeah,
So when I have to go back in time after going back to the future, but not my future, and you collect some hay and then you bring it to some creature that you feed, when I click and drop the hay and lure him away so he's not stomping on my history report,
sure.
that is just as important as when I click on 3 different rocks and 3 different kinds of worms lift said rock with their heads, and only one of them struggles.
Or when I clicked some flowers and they sang a little song to me, or when the monkeys, again, the monkeys who did some beat poetry really left a mark on me. Like, I was thinking about that for a while.
Hard to imagine if that hadn't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. So are we going to connect this to cars or what?
Well, when I was talking about the characters that had extreme lore implications,
Yeah,
uh, this is in some ways already establishing itself in my mind as definitive. This is just either the same universe or a parallel universe, because in both universes we have living car characters who go
hmm,
on misadventures, who, when you go back in time, you discover there are in fact sentient wheels, and you discover that being a vehicle of some sort makes you sentient throughout history.
yeah, yeah. It's not hard to establish this one as a prequel to Cars. Again, what's getting me is the absolute absurdism of parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and let me be clear, I really enjoyed the absurdism of it. That's what kept me kind of interested in it. Is I clicked every single thing on every single screen.
Yeah, if it
Uh,
weren't goofy, it would just be a very unentertaining, I guess, educational for kids experience.
edutainment, John.
Well, it wouldn't be entertaining
That's
if it
sure,
weren't
sure.
goofy.
That's very much true. I just wanted to say edutainment because we hadn't yet, and I like that term a lot.
It
Uh,
it's a good term.
it is a good term.
I'm when I was playing these games, I just kept going back to the idea of why aren't there good educational video games right now?
Yeah,
Like
that
there's Math Blaster in the past, there's these games, there's all that sort of stuff. Why isn't there just like more stuff like Nintendo's somewhat recent release of learn about how to code a video game, except it's Video Game Builder the game. Why aren't there more things like that where it's like, oh, you want to learn magic spells? Well, magic spells are just algebra.
yeah, the edutainment boom like really died out because there was a golden age with like these like lovely little point and click adventures and Where in the World is Carmen San Diego, Oregon Trail, Amazon River. Like I was super into all of those as a kid, and maybe it's because I'm not a child, but it seems like that boom has mostly gone away, and I wonder if it's just like the idea is more like a kid. This is a bad example because I'm going to talk about Assassin's Creed and a child playing it, but like a kid can play Assassin's Creed and like wander around Renaissance Paris, and like unlike kids of the past, they can Google about it if they're interested in it. They can meet. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game, so I'm just lumping them all together. They can meet Da Vinci in one of them and be like, "Ooh, who's this guy? Let's learn about him."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder if it's more about like just introducing the topics and letting kids do their own research these days, or if it just these stopped being profitable at a certain point.
Well, I will say there
And
are a few games that I'm just going to give a shout out. There is, of course, Minecraft Educational. There's Big Brain Academy,
for sure,
and
love
there's
Big Brain
one that I
Academy.
cannot remember. All I remember is that the kids, when I was a substitute, loved playing it, and it seemed pretty much like Ragnarok Online, except less like Final Fantasy, more like Flash animation, but with like a Neopets vibe, and you did mini games and leveled up your character, and it was just you had to do educational, like, oh, what's 12 plus 17?
Hmm. Yeah,
And I wish there were that, but better.
yeah, and like it does make me question. Like I loved playing Oregon Trail as a kid, and like it did give me a good idea of the vibe of the Oregon Trail, like the difficulty of moving as settlers. But like
If you tried to do it in the past, my understanding is that you would get dysentery and then drowned.
for sure. But like past that, I certainly didn't like when I got to I don't know, one of the forts, didn't click all the information and read it. I just went and played the hunting mini game where
Yeah,
missed.
a game in which you, a child who is learning at school, uh, kill animals with your gun.
So like I don't know. I don't know how educational these are. Like I think just the general idea of like letting a kid in to play like one of these, like putt putt. I genuinely think the rewarding curiosity, the like problem solving it gives, that I think works well. But like the actual parts where it's trying to be very educational, where it's like where I would go to an animals exhibit and I could click a speaker and it would say the boa constrictor is found in this area and can get this long. Like I clicked one of those once and then I realized, oh, this is where it's going to try to get me to learn. And I never clicked one of those again. And I gotta imagine Kid Me would have done the exact same thing. And like
Yeah,
the
like, oh, here are the three colors that this animal can be. Here's the Roadrunner. I'm not gonna figure out the third animal's thing.
yeah, like and the like problem solving, exploration, creativity, those exist in most games, and there still are games being made for kids. So like I'm not saying edutainment games are useless. I'm just questioning how much of a loss they are.
Yeah. I really hope that one day there's a really good edutainment like game that basically has a magic system. It's a VR game for whatnot, and it's just like, oh, school for the day is you play a video game. Because that would be awesome.
For
It's like,
sure.
oh, you link, oh, if you want to be a wizard, you have to learn this school subject. If you want to be a fighter, you have to learn this. And it's just like, oh, you have to be well balanced or you can't progress very easily. And just make it a weird, like, making kids enjoy learning by tricking them. I want that.
Yeah. And again, I think when you make it experiential, like, again, I will say I do believe the Oregon Trail taught me, again, just how difficult the journey was, how long it was, how long it took, like the feeling of moving to Oregon, like even from that, low poly, like 16-bit game, like I got that from it. But when they try to put like a book report in the middle of it, you know
Yeah. Uh, Resource management, another good one. Book reports, that's, you have to have a kid who wants to read to begin with
for
for
sure.
that to work in a game.
And I'm sure there are some people who did that and got a lot from it, but I imagine most did not.
Yeah. Be a little strange if that was like the intention and the result and that was just how it worked out.
Yeah. But anyway, I think back to cars, I guess, for our cars podcast. I may have said this, I don't remember. I think our biggest issue is the absurdism itself, it, in linking this to cars. Because, like,
Mhm.
trees don't talk in the Carsverse. And the best
That's
I've.
why they make giant holes through them to kill them.
That's true. They do that in planes.
And the animals also talk, so that's why they killed most of them. That's why they know about bears, but you don't see any.
I do like that. I think mine is okay. And this is going to get a little esoteric and weird for a second, but follow me here.
It's going to start getting that.
Yeah, for sure.
Now is when it gets weird.
For sure, but I think Putt Putt is a middle linking piece from humans to cars, in that, like, it's not an evolutionary thing, it's a something happened thing, like something magic, a magic spell was cast, or like uh some like absurdism
Irresponsible
ray
scientist.
blew up, and like Putt Putt is like the volcanic things are still real weird phase, like it just happened, and things are settling in while like this massive shift to reality just happened, and then Cars has it more like settled in, like the lava has hardened into what it is, what
Mm,
reality is.
okay, so it's just a transitional period.
Yeah, that's what I get from it, because if we're really trying to make it work with, again, the singing flowers and men in the moon and whatnot, and I think we've done it.
All right.
Last thing is the wiki quote that has a name. It's the humongous the humongous wiki quote of the day.
Give me that humongosaur of the day.
For sure. This time we're going over to humongous.fandom.com/wiki/putt-putt. And we are scrolling all the way down to driver's license.
The song?
No, Putt-Putt just has a driver's license.
You
Which,
mean a license to
move,
walk, I guess?
I guess. I don't quite get how to like access this. It says in Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo, you can add to like some of the code I can drive equals 71595 to show Putt-Putt's driver's license. The license reveals his birthday, height, weight, card's expiration date, etc. And I just want to read some facts about Putt-Putt. I didn't notice that one. His birthday is September 9th, 1992. So he is almost
30.
30. Yeah. It says make and says con, which I gotta imagine is convertible. He is 2 foot 3 inches tall, weighs, that can't be right, 123 pounds. His license expires in December of 1999. And let's see, which one of these is my favorite? Okay, it says eyes, 2, which, one, just a good joke. 2 implies some cyclopses and triclopses, etc. could be roaming about.
Excuse me, it's a trichoplease.
You're absolutely right, and I apologize. But then my favorite part, it does reveal that Putt-Putt is a registered engine donor.
Which could mean
Could mean.
organ donor,
Good.
could mean heart donor,
Yeah.
or for all we know, it could mean that this at the time child was potentially a father.
I guess, yeah. I guess. You don't really put that on your driver's license, though. Like, we have a 1-to-1
I mean,
in
you
our
don't.
world. Okay, you're absolutely right.
I mark it in myself.
Yeah, the people at the DMV always forget, but you make sure that gets fixed.
You need a donation of any sort, and I might be able to help you out.
All right, that's the end of the episode. Yeah, you have anything
Yep.
else? Okay.
I do, but it's its own thing, and it's a lot.
Okay. Do you want to
No,
do
it's
that?
too much. It is the entire concept of, if this is a transitional period, we have an answer to the question of what of their hands,
Yeah, because they have those antenna things.
and they are used for everything.
For everything. Where'd those go? Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry. Tune in next time, I guess. Because that is the end of the episode. I did want to point out that this probably went about an hour long, and Plank could have, in that time, played every single Humongous Entertainment game twice. So that's just something I wanted to say. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. And of course, a very special thank you to both Izzy, who sent this to us a few weeks ago. We finally got around to it. And even more so, Emma, who sent this to me, I think literally 2 years ago. And I forgot about it immediately. So thank you both for being patient, one of you more than the other. And thank you for sending it to us in the first place. If you want to be like them and send us ideas and even have us say your name at the end of the episode, you can do that by going and sending us an email at thekachat@gmail.com, or tweeting at us and giving us a follow on our Twitter, which is at thekachat. There's no hyphen in there. Also, you can probably DM us. I don't really know how that works, but probably. Now John says this is part of the outro.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe, tell anyone and everyone you think might be the least bit interested in this kooky, quirky, strange little podcast. And also give Putt-Putt a try. Who knows? Maybe you'll like it. And until next time, remember to float like a Cadillac.
And sting like a beamer.